have two boys with autism. He's my oldest. He's 17 and a half. He was diagnosed when he was 2 years, 9 months. And he had seizures starting when he was about 18 months old, shortly after the MMR.
So before he had seizures at 18 months, what was he like?
Nothing. I mean, there was no issues really whatsoever. There was no health concerns at all. He was developing normally. He was a little bit late in walking, but 13 months old. It wasn't a huge delay. But
He was 13 months old when he walked?
Mm-hmm.
That's not late, is it?
No, well, some say 12, but yeah, he was.
Whatever.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he wasn't. But that's it. There was really no other issues, and but he had, been vaccinated the whole time, but nothing that was on my radar. I wasn't looking for anything necessarily. When he started having the seizures, we lived in Los Angeles at the time, and I was here visiting my family, and what happened was he just turned blue, and his whole body stiffened up, and he just kind of fell over, and we thought that he was choking on something because his face was blue. And so I'm sticking my finger down his throat looking for something, and realized there's nothing there. And what's happening is his he was kind of in the post-seizure phase where he couldn't keep his eyes open. So I took him to Children's Hospital. They didn't necessarily believe me when I was explaining what had happened. They thought that he maybe was passing out because he hit his head, and I kept trying to tell them no, that this other activity started first. And we were there for a while. They ran some tests, and then he actually started seizing with a nurse in the room, and so that's when he kind of had foam and different things coming out of his mouth. And they ran an EEG and then found that there was seizure activity going on. Started him on phenobarbital, and he was on that for a while, and then he developed all of these weird rashes. And so when I took him back to the neurologist said, well, he's been on the phenobarbital for a long time. He shouldn't be having rashes, but it's got to be the medication. Well, I'd vaccinated him in between. And did the same thing with Tegretol. We switched to that medicine, and then the same thing. He developed these strange rashes and pink eyes. His stomach was starting to get really stretched out, the Buddha belly, as we all see with these kids. And then they switched him to Depakote, and he stayed on that until he was in probably 5th grade. But that was able to control the seizures, but he still had the behavior issues. And at that point, I started switching his diet. I took him off cow's milk and didn't do the full gluten casein-free diet, but did a modified version of it. He still has never been on the diet. My younger son has been, but he didn't have the gastrointestinal issues that my younger son had.
So how old are you?
I'm 17 and going to be turning 18 this December.
And do you remember any of the things that your mum talks about?
Not by my own memory, but she's talked to me a lot about it. But I do remember growing up being having to take all of these medications, and Depakote was responsible for it. Did heighten my behavioral incidents, right? The Depakote was what
we don't know, because by the time we pulled him off of it, he was older and more mature. But he did have a lot of anger, aggression.
Yeah, I'd say I've been having anger, aggression problems until I was about 13, maybe.
Do you think that's the side effects of the psychotropic drugs?
I don't know.
I mean,
it's hard to tell.
I think if you look at them, you'll find there's aggressive behavior comes from that.
Yeah, I mean, he still battles with it sometimes when he gets frustrated. Like when I was watching when you were watching Billy in the video, was that reminding you of yourself?
A bit. Yeah, like even the way that
when he was doing
when I was getting when I expressed all the anger inside of me, just tense up like that.
Yeah, he does the same thing, the same behavior that I saw.
And what causes that? For Billy, I think it's when he has gluten, just goes out. I don't know what makes you so. If I was to try and help Billy through his, what do you think? How do you think I could help him?
I can't really say much about it. I mean, a lot of it is just stress-induced, maybe, or it's something that I ate.
Or maybe is it also maybe not being able to express yourself as you want to, and so frustrated?
Yeah. I think it was either you or Anthony when we were talking about this, but yeah, that.
Social at high school, he's going to be a senior in high school, and academically he does quite well. He struggles with his grades. He actually took the California high school proficiency exam over the summer because we weren't sure if he was going to go back to high school, and he passed it. So academically he does very well. He's in what's your math class that you're going to be in next year? He's going to go back to high
AP
school,
calculus.
but he's in AP calculus, but he struggles with friendships
Yeah.
and
Just social skills in general.
a lot of times just generalization of things. If you do one thing one way this time, and we need to do it a different way the next time, sometimes that causes him stress. So like what he said too, a lot of times it's just not understanding what his friends are talking about, not understanding the social cues, right? When I asked him about
Not being able to express myself properly. Like a lot of times, even my mom, like if I'm trying to tell her something, and she might mistakenly like think that I was saying something else, and it could have offended her like a bit. So like she could have like snapped at me.
I have said this many times that because I have two, and my younger one, who's 12, is severe. He didn't speak till he was 7, and I've said this to Pam actually because we were friends, that dealing with him with the school district and dealing with the high functioning a lot of times is actually more difficult, more stressful than my severe.
Right.
It's different because it's hard, because every year sitting down for the IEP, they look at his academics and they say, what are we in here for? And then we have to explain, that, and when he was younger, a lot of times it was for his his aggression at school or his outbursts when he wouldn't understand what was
You're an
happening.
incredibly handsome boy, you need to know that. And you're a very nice young man, and I want you to sign the bus and I want you to come meet my bells.
I sent a video that he made today thanking you guys for making this film. He started speaking when he was 7, but because I had an older son that was diagnosed with autism and seizure disorder, I looked a little bit into it, but back then, because he was born in '98, and then Joshua, my younger one, was born in 2002, so there was a little bit of rumbling going on online, but I didn't believe it, and in fact, I honestly thought you guys were all crazy. I mean, I did, and I remember, like, afterwards, like most parents do, so I did everything that I was supposed to do, but I did talk to the doctor, and he said, you know what, I'm going to delay the MMR until 18 months because you have concerns, so on and so forth, so we're going to just delay it to 18 months, which we did. He had more gastrointestinal issues even as an infant. He used to pass solid food. I would open his diaper and the food would be completely undigested in his diaper. And I went to his doctor and I told him what was happening, and so he ran some tests and he said, no, he's fine, everything's fine. So we continued vaccinating him, and then when he really seemed to, when we lost him, was shortly after he turned 1, I went and had a flu shot. And so he had been saying dada, he had been pointing, he had great facial affect and all of that. After the flu shot, he started blinking and ticking, and he would take his hands and he would just do this back and forth with his hands. He stopped sleeping. We lost eye contact. We lost, he wasn't saying dada anymore. In fact, he didn't even care if my husband was in the room. And he didn't speak until he was 7. We started ABA at 3, but I didn't put him on the diet until he was 5. So in fact, I met Pam, and she was really instrumental in teaching me a little bit. And I think I needed to just meet someone in real life that was doing it. And so that's when we started him on the road to recovery. So we did methyl B12 injections, and we did the diet, and we've done different supplements, and we use essential oils now. And he's going into 7th grade. He is in a fully secluded autism class, and he has some language, but most people, you can understand a lot of what he's saying. I can. I think that most people can't necessarily understand what he's saying, but he's definitely going to be, disabled. I mean, we're going to be taking care of him, the rest of our lives.
Wow, Mama, we have a lot to do with, but beautiful children.
Thank you. I wish Joshua could have come, but hopefully you'll get a chance to watch the video because he wanted to say thank you to you I wanted him to say thank you to you for making the movie.
And you better write his name on that.
I will. Thank you so much.